Hello, everyone. Welcome to League of Leaders. I'm Zach Sooty, joined by Al Fragnoli and our very special guest, Abbey Way. Abbey Way is currently social media manager at Seven Springs Mountain Resorts. Abby, thanks for being here.
Of course, I'm so happy and excited to talk to you guys.
Well, Abby, you have a very interesting background. You have a very interesting career path, and kind of want to capture all of that in our first question with you tonight. You were a student athlete at East Carolina University. How did college athletics and a major in communications prepare you for your future? And tell us how your path led to your current role as social media manager at Seven Springs.
Okay, so yes, like you said, I was a student athlete at East Carolina University. I was a pole vaulter there, which I never really thought I would do. Just like today in my career, I never really thought I'd be a social media manager at a ski resort. I went to school for journalism and I loved ECU. When I went to school, I kind of thought, I think I'll be the weather girl, was kind of my first thing. And then I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I always liked storytelling and writing. So journalism seemed like the right fit. So internships is what really helped me figure out what I wanted to do. I interned at a local TV station in Greenville, North Carolina, and half the time I worked with a news team. So I got to learn the news side of it. And then the other half, I worked with the sports director. And I really liked doing that. So I would go with him and cover local high school football games, a little bit of ECU sports, but we did a lot of Touchdown Friday, it was called. And he was just this like old timer legend down there. Everybody loved him. So he really showed me the ropes. And then I applied for an internship at KDK and I got it. I couldn't believe it. It was like a really competitive internship. And I ended up getting it with 93.7 The Fan specifically. So that's where I really learned what I wanted to do. So I went into the sports internship. All I ever knew was basketball and track. Those are the only sports I played. I, of course, was a Pittsburgh sports fan, but I knew who Ben Roethlisberger was, and that was about it. So I'm all of a sudden thrown into the locker room with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't think I knew who a single player was. I had to go home and ask my dad what an RBI was. I mean, I was absolutely clueless. So, but I thought it was really cool because I did like sports and I loved playing sports. And I thought it was cool to be behind the scenes, be in the locker room, get to be around the players and just see how all that worked and get to see the games up close from the sideline or the press box. So I did fall in love with it. And thank God I had Jeff Hathorn, the sports director at 93.7 The Fan, to teach me everything about baseball and all the other sports we covered. So I started out not knowing what an RBI was. And by the end of that internship, I could keep score baseball, on paper. So I had it figured out and I just really loved it. And then they actually ended up hiring me. So I really lucked out and had a job right when I graduated college, had somewhere to go back home in Pittsburgh. I was local to Mount Pleasant, so about an hour drive to work. And then I covered sports there as pretty much the only reporter at the Fan. So everybody was pretty much an on-air anchor, like they were on the radio. And then I was pretty much the only one considered a reporter going into the locker room, sending them the audio back. And then I would also write stories for the website, stuff like that. And I just loved it. And I, really learned more about sports then. I covered hockey, basketball, which I loved, football. And I did 5 seasons of baseball and football before I left there. But then also when I was at the Fan, I also worked in the promotions department. So I got to see a little bit of that behind the scenes also from concerts. So like the people spinning the wheels and stuff, like giveaways for concerts. So I did a lot of that for all the radio stations that were affiliated with CBS at the time. And then I was also a producer there. So I was the one that was pushing all the buttons. So while the guys were on the radio, I was the one pushing all the buttons, playing the commercials, doing the audio and stuff like that. So I really saw a lot of it. So I felt pretty lucky to get to experience all sides of radio. And then I ended up at WJAC in Johnstown. So I was like saying goodbye to sports and I was really torn. I didn't know what to do. But I felt like I had really put my time in there. And I was lucky to have that job in such a big industry. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to push myself further into that TV news and see where that could take me. And unfortunately, that didn't last very long due to a pretty bad concussion situation that I was dealing with. So when I was still at 93.7 The Fan, I was in a car accident, which led to my 5th concussion. And I actually wasn't allowed to work or anything for at least 3 months. So I did go back to covering sports and stuff, but I was pretty much a mess. And this was also kind of why I felt okay leaving sports. I was having just a really hard time dealing with the lights at a stadium, the sounds at a stadium. Couldn't remember anything, which, did get better, but that was ultimately why I ended up quitting the TV job, because the doctor said I had to. So at WJAC, I loved that as well while it lasted. But I was the social media reporter and I was on the morning show. So I had this cool touchscreen TV and I was like the first to use this. It was like this brand new technology at the time, at least for this TV station. So I did all that, but I started at 3:30 in the morning, and that's kind of where all the headaches and stuff turned into daily migraines, and I was just a mess. So the doctor said I had to quit. And then it kind of seemed like it was meant to be that the job at Seven Springs opened up, and I had actually applied to this job, got the job offered to me and turned it down. At the same time, I took the TV job and then got hired there. And that's kind of like a lot of rambling, but it was a lot to say. So hopefully it didn't.
Fantastic story.
That's
yeah, it was kind of hot and I can't breathe.
That's awesome stuff, Abby. I enjoyed hearing about some of your background there. Thank you for sharing that with us. The next question I want to kind of transition into is I want to kind of go back into some of your sports media background. So you're obviously a young professional working in sports media. What are some of the challenges being a woman in this field, and how were you able to overcome some of those?
Okay. So like I said earlier, I did go into this situation. The first thing I think I ever covered was a Pittsburgh Pirate game. Didn't even know what an RBI was. But even with that aside, I would say that women in the locker room were not taken seriously. And it did take me a while, I feel like, to be taken seriously. Not like everybody even knew that I didn't know that much at the time when I first started, because I do feel like I'm a very quick learner and I did pick up on it very quickly. But I just felt like people looked at me fresh out of college. Not only was I a rookie reporter, which there were not many of them at all in Pittsburgh to begin with, but I was the only female reporter in the sports scene, I would say, in Pittsburgh. Every once in a while, you'd maybe have somebody from like the MLB network or ESPN, something like that, come in for one game. I was the only regular. So I feel like how I overcame that was, like I said, I learned quickly. I proved that I had a reason to be there. I asked questions. I didn't just stand there and hold a mic. I proved that I had a reason to be there, asked those questions, wrote stories, provided content, audio and stuff for the station to play. And before I knew it, I felt like I had that respect. And, I was chit-chatting with the guys like I belonged there and wasn't just standing in the corner.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Abby, you have a strong social media following and you focus a lot on health and fitness. What is your motivation and what inspires you to use your following to motivate others?
Well, after college, I felt like I needed to be doing more. So I did have that job at 93.7 Fan, and I was doing that and got to be involved in sports in that way. But other than that, I was all of a sudden without a team, without practices to be at, track meets to compete at, no more weightlifting, schedules. I just felt kind of lost a little bit. So I was like, I need to, give back. And I had all these coaches helping me out. I should just start an Instagram and post stuff on there and see if it can help anybody. So, I'm not a certified personal trainer or anything like that, but I feel like I do have a lot of knowledge that I've learned going back to high school and then especially through college, because we did have fantastic weightlifting coaches there. I had, the same team that the football players had and the basketball players had. We had an amazing facility there, and I learned a lot about Olympic weightlifting and just training in all aspects. So even though I knew these kind of like hardcore, athletic type things and how to get better that way. I feel like I also knew just how to stay in shape and have fun. And that's kind of the message that I try to get out now is you don't have to do these crazy 3-day practices and stuff. You don't have to train like a college athlete to be healthy. And here's how I suggest doing it. And anytime that I do just get a message saying I help somebody, it just really makes me feel good. And not only do I feel like I'm helping other people, but it helps keep myself accountable too, because I got to practice what I preach. I can't just be saying, I better go work out today. And then I don't do it. So I do feel like having this Instagram helps me, and it helps, hopefully other people too.
So I love that. I always take the mindset that if you can give back and you can do something where you're impacting, even if it's only one person, it makes all the difference in the world. So I love that you're finding a way to give back and take the knowledge that you've learned through college athletics and fitness and training, and you're giving back. That's going to kind of, Abby, transition into our next question. So based on what you've shared with us so far, you've obviously worked around some great leaders in your time working in the sports industry and at Seven Springs. What are some of the leadership lessons that you've learned along the way and that you'd like to kind of share with some of our listeners, maybe to some people that are trying to potentially break into the sports industry or just into a leadership role in general? What are some lessons you've learned along the way?
Oh boy, I feel like there's so many things you can say about this. So from one side of it, I say if you're just breaking into sports, sometimes, you think you know everything, but you don't. So when you're just breaking in, be quiet a little bit, pay attention to the people that do know what they're doing. They've been doing it for decades. Listen, learn, don't be afraid to make mistakes. But also don't go in acting like you know everything right away, because trust me, you don't. And you're going to learn as you go, and you're going to make mistakes as you go. And I think that's how you learn and you become better, and you become a better leader, by progressing and becoming better that way. So I always say, don't be afraid to fail, be afraid not to try. And also you can't just, talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. So just lead by example. And also, I guess, there's always drama along the way, whether you're a freshman in high school or you're in college or you're at the workplace. You're going to meet all kinds of people and a lot of different personalities, especially in the sports world. So a lot of different personalities. You just got to, roll with it sometimes, and don't get sucked into anything like that. And, just keep going, do you, and I don't know. Do what you think is right.
Abby.
Always do the right thing, I'd say.
Yeah, always do the right thing. I like that. Was there anyone who kind of really helped you throughout your career that you still lean on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd say my main guys are Jeff Hathorn and Jim Colony. Those guys were even at my wedding. Same Eric Hagman as well. But they taught me so much, really. I mean, from how to interact with players professionally, and then also be able to, I don't want to say be friends with them, but heck, when you're in there every single day, they are like your coworkers. So, how to have that friend-ish relationship as well as a working relationship. I think those guys really have it down. And once you do kind of get the trust of the athletes as well, it helps you really become a better reporter. But yeah, those guys really taught me a lot. And I'd say one of the most important things that Jeff Hathorn taught me, and this kind of goes with being a leader, I guess, is always be prepared. Always have backup batteries, especially if you're in radio. Have those backup batteries in your pocket, because you never know when it's going to die.
That's good advice for our communication majors out there. That's awesome. Yeah. Always have your batteries.
Be prepared. So, memory cards and batteries.
So we have to end on our final question talking about your little all-star, Boone. Would you mind telling us about Boone and how our viewers can find him on the mountain, shredding at Seven Springs on his snowboard, and tell us a little bit how you got him started and how much he loves it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Boone is 20 months old as of a few days ago. We got him started on the snowboard at 16 months old this winter. Started in the house a little bit. They have this fancy little cover you can put on, and we just spun him around the living room a bunch of times, and he instantly loved it. That first time we did it, I bet we did it for an hour, and he pretty much only lets my husband do it as well. I don't know. He doesn't trust me, I guess. So I mean, he was like breaking a sweat. So we did that in the house, and then we got him out on the mountain. not expecting at all what happened. He instantly like knew exactly what he was doing. He was going down the bunny hill. We would just catch him. We couldn't believe how good he was that very first time. So if you go on my Instagram or whatever and look for it, those first videos that I posted, that was the first time ever he was on snow. And those were the videos that kind of went viral. But yeah, it looked like he had been doing it forever, but he just started. So yeah, if you're ever up at Seven Springs, you can find him there. He goes to Hidden Valley sometimes. But now that it's summer, I think he's going to be a rock climber.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have to, be chasing him all over the place. He's really into climbing. But yeah, he's a wild one. Definitely going to get a basketball in his hand soon. But no
I
pole
like
vault.
that.
That makes me nervous. Yeah,
No pole, working on those free throws early.
exactly.
So Abby, thank you for joining us today. We had a great time catching up with you. We will post Abby's social media to our websites as well, and our social media, so you can follow Abby, catch up with Abby, catch up with Boone, see what they're up to, follow Seven Springs and Hidden Valley, and catch us on League of Leaders coming up on Hot Topic Tuesday and next Sunday with our next special guest. Appreciate everyone joining us, and Abby, as always, great to catch up and glad to see you, and glad to see you and your family are doing well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby.